Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, WTI. Today is the 17th of September 2018, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at a few instruments I believe are quite important right now. And as always, before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Also, just a very quick reminder of our JFD Brokers website and specifically our JFD research page, where you can go in and have a look at different analysis that we do on a daily basis. So yep, feel free to check us out. Let me just quickly load up the page here, and yep, feel free to check us out, and I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here. Okay, but for now, let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on is the S&P 500. Now the S&P here, to be honest, looks good, looks very good, and it's not far, trading not far from the all-time high that reached here back on the 29th of August. So of course we managed to break this high that we saw here in the around the 26th of January. So of course on the 29th of August we made new all-time highs, and so like I said, looking at how it is right now, how it is shaping up right now, we can see that yep, and we are just a few points away, let's say about something like about 12 points away from reaching the all-time highs again. And of course, if that happens and if we get a nice break here above this level right here, above the 2916.50 level approximately there, we could see further acceleration in the price, and we could see new all-time highs being hit. So yep, so for now guys, be very careful here. Like I said, at the moment of course we are aiming for this level here, the all-time high level. Certainly let's not exclude the possibility of a potential move lower initially, where the index could bounce off of this short-term upside support line taken from the low here, approximately from the 28th of June. So we could see a scenario like this, of course. Could be a possibility where the bulls could see this as a perfect opportunity to jump in and yep, potentially drive this one towards the new all-time highs. Well, initially of course towards the previous all-time highs, but if that doesn't hold, well, we could start hitting new levels here. So for now, be very careful. On the downside, certainly if we would get a break here below this upside support line, still be very careful, because for us to start examining lower levels, we would need to see a nice good break here below this 2865 zone, approximately there. As you can see here in the beginning of September, it acted as a very nice area of support. So if we do get a nice break here and a close here below this 2865, now this is where we could start aiming for some lower levels. Initially, of course, maybe aiming for this kind of a, I would probably say more of a tentative, slightly more medium-term tentative upside support line. But to be honest, if that doesn't hold here, we do have some better areas for possible support. The first one to watch here is the 2800, around there. This area here, as you can see, proved to be quite an important area, support zone since around the middle of July, and we could aim for that area here, the 2800. But for that, of course, we would need to get a nice good break and a close below this 2865 zone. So keep your eyes on that. Like I said, be very careful here, and let's see if this index is going to reach new all-time highs again. So let's jump into one commodity quickly, and that's going to be WTI. Now WTI here, looking at this daily chart and looking at this this formation right now, we can see that it kind of continues to trade here above this very short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 60 16th of August. And of course now we're going to just keep on monitoring it. This is the important level that we're going to keep an eye on. Let me just quickly highlight that for you. And this is going to be around the 70.45 zone, something like that, approximately there, of course, because if we do get a nice break and a close here above this level, now this could become interesting for the bulls, where they could potentially drive it a little bit higher towards the 71.65. But if that doesn't hold, well, we do have some better levels up here for a potential area of resistance. And the first kind of good area to keep an eye on is the 74.80 level. And as you can see here, in the beginning of July this year, this area kind of proved to be quite an important one, which held the price lower, and it didn't kind of allow it to close above that level. So something like this could be possible. We could potentially test the 74.80, but for that we need to see a good strong move here above this 70.45 level, and like I said, this way we could start aiming for these higher levels. So for now, just looking at this, let me just actually jump into the 4-hour chart in this one quickly. And as you can see, yep, this kind of upside tentative support line, I would say, even yep, we can probably use the word tentative here as well. So it kind of continues to show the direction, and of course for now we're just gonna stay neutral a little bit here, because it might continue grinding higher, but to be honest, this is not going to be pretty much of interest for us at this point. For us to start examining lower levels, we would need to see a nice good break here below this tentative upside support line, or to be honest, even better, we would need to see a drop below these lows here around the 66.95 area, or we can round it up towards the 67 level. And if we do get a nice break here and a close below the 67 level, then well, it could be opening the path towards these much lower levels last time seen around August time. So the next good potential area of support here could be the 64.45 level. But again, like I said, for us to start looking at the possible move towards the 64.45, we would need to see a nice good break here and a close not only below this kind of tentative upside support line, but also this important support level here at around 66.95, or even actually, like I said before, we can round it up towards the 67 level. So for now, keep your eyes on that, and let's see where it wants to go from here. Let's jump into a few pairs now. The first one I want to touch on is Aussie dollar, and Aussie dollar is getting a nice boost here today. We can see this by this nice daily chart. Overall, of course, the Aussie dollar continues to trade below this downwards moving trend line taken from the peak of the 26th of January. And of course, if looking at this arrow that you can see on my chart here, we're currently aiming for the 0.7235 level. Now, if we would get a nice break here and a close above this 0.7235, certainly, yep, it could be interesting for the bulls. But to be honest, the upside could be limited to this downside trend line. So something like this could be possible, and let's say, long story short, and until this trend line remains intact, we'll still aim for lower levels. We could see rejection here, and if the pair moves back down and tests the 0.7235 level and then breaks it again, well, again, we could start aiming for this level right here at around 0.7165 area, something like that. So approximately there, so keep your eyes on that one. And this level here in the past, as you can see, acted as a very nice strong area of support, especially here in December time 2016. Now again, like I said, we could see a test of that level again, and if that doesn't hold, well, further declines could be possible. But for now, just looking at the short-term picture, we can see that, yep, it seems that the pair really wants to continue pushing higher here, and the first level that we're going to keep an eye on is the 0.7235. Let's jump into GBPUSD now quickly. And GBPUSD, well, also having its nice move higher today, taking out the Friday's highs, and we're currently sitting here and not far. If you can see here on the daily chart, we're not far from this 100 EMA shown here as the green line, and this is where we could potentially aim for today. That's approximately around the 131.75 zone, so just about 25 pips away from where it's trading at this point. Looking at the 4-hour chart on this one, you can see that yep, we are continuing to climb higher here on this pair. And let me just kind of put something here. Let me just put a quick line here. This short term also kind of more tentative upwards moving support line. I would say it's continuing to dictate the direction. And of course, like I said, we are keeping a close eye right now on that level that I was just talking about, the 131.75. But if that doesn't hold, we do have some very good potential areas of resistance here up on the well, on the upside. This is what I wanted to say. And keep your eyes on this 132.15. Now the 132.15 proved to be quite an important area of resistance here around the 25th of July, and you can see that it held the rate nicely down and didn't allow it to move higher. So we could potentially aim for that target, for that 132.15 level again. So certainly could potentially be a nice area of resistance for GBPUSD. On the downside, if let's say this suddenly reverses back to the downside, still keep your eyes on this upside support line, this kind of, as I mentioned, tentative upside support line. But for us to turn more or let's say to turn bearish, at least for the shorter term here, we would need to see a nice good break and a close below this 130.55 zone. As you can see, it proved to be quite a nice bouncing ground on Friday. This is where the on Friday. This is where actually on Friday it stopped. This is where it found its support. So this becomes quite an important level to watch, the 130.55. If we get a nice break here and a close below that level, now we could start aiming for maybe towards the 129.75 or even a little bit lower. So of course, for that we would need to see initially a nice good break here and a close below this upside support line, and then this is where we could then target the 130.55, a break of which could open the path towards lower levels. But for now, of course, looking at this picture, to be honest, the downside is slightly off the table. And the last pair that I really wanted to quickly touch on, and that's USDCAD. Now USDCAD, looking at this daily chart, it's a bit of a mess here. Certainly initially we had this nice upwards moving trend line here, or actually it's more of a support line here, but as you can see, it kind of got broken here in the end of August, but then kind of quickly in the beginning of September it kind of quickly climbed back up above it, and now we're breaking this. So basically, in a way, this line becomes a bit irrelevant, so we're going to be on the lookout for something else. And jumping into a 4-hour chart here, certainly we could start drawing some lines like something like this, like where it's to be honest, it's going to be more of a tentative one. You could keep it just for like your reference, but do not rely too much on it. So for us now, we're going to just get rid of it. And to be honest, what we're going to do here is, because it's a bit of a tricky pair here right now, we're going to aim, if we're looking for lower levels here, we need to see a nice good break and a close below this 129.75 zone initially. This is where it could become more interesting for the bears, at least for the short-term picture, and this is where we could potentially aim for the 129 zone. So basically, we're gonna wait and see what it wants to do here, and if this continues to push lower here, we will wait for and see if it actually breaks this 129.75 level and closes below that level. If we do get a close here below this 129.75, now this is where we'll start aiming for the 129 zone. So, but what's in regards to the upside here, let me just adjust this arrow quickly. For us, looking from the short-term perspective, we're gonna look at this high here that was that we had recently, and this is approximately around the 130.55 zone. Let me just quickly adjust the level here. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to aim for this 130.55 on the upside. If we start seeing a break here above this level, above this 130.55, now this is where it could become more interesting for the bulls, and we could potentially, let's actually get rid of this line. This is no longer relevant. This is where we could start aiming for the possible touch of the 131.10 level, so approximately there. So could be a nice potential trade, but again, for now we're just gonna continue observing this one, just gonna stay somewhat more neutral, and yep, and we're just gonna, like I said, keep an eye on these levels that I was just talking about, the 130.55 on the upside, and on the downside the 129.75. So certainly whoever wants to trade here inside, I mean, by all means you can do that, but to be honest, it's better to be safe than sorry. So wait for a good confirmation break and then react on this this pair. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you found it useful, and if you want to join me tomorrow morning in my Traders Espresso, and that's 6 o'clock GMT time, 7 o'clock British Summer Time. But for now, thank you very much, and bye bye.